Hola, estudiantes. ¿Cómo estáis? Hello, students. I hope that everyone is well. Today we're going to talk about present tense conjugation. I thought I'd put this out so that you could watch it as many times as you would like. No problems here. Just follow along. It's really not very difficult to do. So just follow along. I think everybody will be just fine. All right, I put some sample of some verbs here. Cerrar, to close, crear, to create, and so on. So the first thing that we need to do when we want to conjugate is always recall the subject pronouns. It is so very important that you know what falls where. If you think about it, we have a singular side and we have a plural side. In English, it's simply I, you, he, she, it in the English form, but in Spanish, there is no word for the subject it. On the plural side, we have we, you all, and they for the most part. In Spanish, it looks like this: yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. It is very important to know that yo falls in first person singular. It can't be third person plural. They have to fall in their respective places. This is the only way that you can make your subjects and your verbs agree. Now, when we're speaking of verbs in Spanish, all verbs are considered to be either AR, ER, or IR verbs. And what that simply means is that they end with either AR, ER, or IR. And each of these types of verbs have a different set of endings. And I've listed the endings here. For instance, your AR endings for your singular and plural side are as follows: o, as, a, amos, ais, un. For ER, it's almost identical. The O is still the same. Then it goes into es, e, emos, es, ein. For IR endings, o, es, e, imos, is, ein. Now, if you notice, if you can learn one, you can pretty much get the others pretty easily. The only difference between your AR and your ER endings, if you notice, outside of first person singular, is where you have A's for the AR endings, you have E's for the ER endings. Okay? And for IR, first, second, third singular and third plural are identical to the ER, first, second, third, singular, and plural. The only two that differ are first and second persons plural, which is emos and is. So those are our endings. Okay, moving right along. Let's move into conjugation. This is more of an issue in Spanish than what it is in English. In English, it's pretty simple. If we wanted to go through these persons, and let's say, for instance, we wanted to use the verb to speak, we would simply say, I speak, you speak, he or she speaks with an S, we speak, you all speak, they speak. Well, in Spanish, it takes a little bit more. It's a little more complicated than that. Every single person is going to have its own word. So what you have to do is conjugate. The first thing that they do in Spanish to conjugate is to take off the ending. In this case, this verb hablar, which means to speak, ends with AR. You're going to take off the AR. And what that's going to do is leave you with the stem habl, H-A-B-L. That's what's left. So that's what you're going to have in every person. So you will simply have H-A-B-L in first person singular, H-A-B-L second person singular, and so on. But what we're going to do is we're going to take these endings. Since hablar is an AR verb, we're going to use these endings and attach these endings to the end of the stem. And that is how we end up with hablo, hablas, habla. Hablamos, habláis, hablan. English interpretation: I speak, you speak, he or she speaks, we speak, you all speak, they speak. And this is how you conjugate. Depending upon what type of verb you have, you're just simply going to use the endings for that type of verb. For instance, if you had an ER verb, you would come here and you would simply drop the ER and attach the ER endings. Okay, so with that being said, let's practice. Let's do a little práctica. The instructions: fill in the blanks with the correct form of the verb to agree with the subject. Let's take a look at the first one. Ellos trabajar en la cafetería. Okay, first of all, you know that the first thing that we do when we want to conjugate is take off the AR, the ER, IR. So everything that is left, which is the stem of the word, you know that's going to be a part of your answer. So let's see if we could type something here. So for number 1, if we take off the AR, we're simply left with TRABAJ. Now we have to choose our ending. The subject is ellos. By now you know your subject pronouns, but let's just take a look here. Ellos is found in third person plural. So if the subject is third person plural, you would have to also have your verb in third person plural. And the way that you do that is you're going to go to the AR endings and choose the ending that is in third person plural. That ending is an. So when we come back here, that's what we want to attach at the end. So this would be our answer for number 1. Trabajan. Ellos trabajan en la cafetería. They work in the cafeteria. Not very difficult at all, is it? Let's look at number 2. Nosotros beber Pepsi. We drink Pepsi. If we drop the ER, we're simply left with BEB. Now, your subject is nosotros. Nosotros is first person plural. Take a look here. First person plural, you see nosotros. So you would also have to use the ending for first person plural. So let's go back. What kind of verb do we have? In this case, we have an ER verb. So that means that we would have to use the ER endings. And if you look under your ER endings in first person plural, you see EMOS. So that would be the ending that you would attach to the end of beber. Nosotros bebemos Pepsi. We drink Pepsi. El número 3. Carlos abrir las ventanas. If we drop the IR, we're left with ABR. Now, if you notice, Carlos is not listed in this list of subjects. But whenever you have a person's name, if you think of Carlos, it's he. If I was to ask, where is Carlos? And you know exactly where Carlos is, you would say, oh, he's at school, or he's in the house, or he is somewhere. So it's simply he. So when you have a person's name, or anything for that matter, it's going to be third person. If it's more than one, or if it's more than one person, it's going to be third person plural. So that's what you're going to do when you have something that doesn't fall within this category. A person's name will always be third person. If it's more than one, third person plural. All right, so let's go back. Carlos, you have one. He's third person singular. It's only one person. This is an IR verb because it ends in IR. If you go back to your IR endings, third person singular for IR endings is simply an E. So that would be what you would have here. Abre. He opens the windows. Okay, and the very last one, yo comprender la lección. I understand the lesson. For yo, these are the easier ones in the present tense. If it's just a simple present tense, it's pretty simple. The reason why I say that is because yo is first person singular, right? First person singular. And if you notice, for AR, ER, and IR, in the first person singular slot, it's simply an O. And it doesn't matter what kind of verb it is. It's an O for each one of them. So it doesn't matter what type of verb you have. You're simply going to have an O on the end. Comprendo. Yo comprendo la lección. So this is how you come up with your answers. It's almost like playing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. I hope that this has been helpful. And if you need more practice, there's plenty of practice and plenty of other things on the iLearn activities. Hope that these help, and I hope that you do well. Thank you so very much.